and you then rewire the connection in your brain to take over, and you, believe it or not, will no longer feel jealous. You will no longer feel like you're suffocating. This episode is the ultimate masterclass on how you can get rid of those suffocating jealous feelings for good. How you can go to sleep at night knowing that you don't have to worry about their social media, knowing that you don't have to worry about where they're going or who they're seeing, knowing that you won't have a panic attack when you are out in public with your partner and you see something that threatens you. Knowing that you can just breathe and enjoy your relationship and create the loving relationship that you deserve. So in this episode, I'd like to say that this was a letter to my 23-year-old self. I'm 30 now. I've definitely learned a lot over time, but that's why I want to help you get over those suffocating and anxiety-inducing jealous feelings. So in this episode, I'm going to go over why jealousy is normal, how you can understand jealousy, and maybe pinpoint why you're feeling this way and an explanation as to why these feelings come up for you. I'll also be pointing out the behaviors that show up when you are feeling jealous, especially when you're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder over a very traumatic relationship, and how you can heal those parts with self-love techniques and being able to just stop and breathe and think for a second. So if that's something that you want, and if that's something you want to gain and be able to heal from, this episode is for you, so stay tuned. Before I get into the episode, hello, my name is Vero. I help you all glow, grow, and thrive through those toxic relationships and traumas in your life and those jealous feelings. So let's start healing together, because we heal together in this relationship. We're always learning and we're always growing. So before I dive into the tips on how we can finally get rid of those jealous feelings that weigh us down day to day, I want to share with you my story. Some of you may already know, some of you may be coming from a past video that you've watched of mine. Some of you may have already looked at the other video I talked about explaining jealousy and how to make it stop. But just to go over it again for anyone who's new and for anyone who wants to understand where I'm coming from, it all started when I had parental figures in my life that were constantly lying to me, constantly manipulating me into doing what they wanted for whatever agenda they had. A lot of people were selfish in their needs of what they wanted out of me, that it very much molded me into a puppet for them. And I didn't understand what trust and love looked like. I didn't understand how to speak up for myself. And I didn't understand what a safe relationship looked like without lies and without deceit. So with that being said, that basically already paved me a surefire road to end up with the wrong people. So the most traumatic relationship that I've ever been in, and I've explained this in a past episode, is the one where it was just extremely abusive, verbally, mentally, physically. And within this relationship, that person had cheated on me for a year with multiple people. But within that relationship, a lot of what I had to heal from was the feeling of being trapped and the feeling of paranoia and the feeling of just not being good enough for this person. So they were also extremely manipulative. They were also extremely deceitful. Anytime I would bring something up that I felt that was suspicious, they would automatically gaslight me and make me feel like I was crazy. Any hints that I found that were actually true and were actually right, they would call me all sorts of names, make me feel stupid for even thinking it, blame me for being the one that's bringing this stuff up, even though it was completely true, and made me feel like I couldn't trust my own self. And with that very juicy combination of my life just being around people who would lie to me, who would manipulate me, who would change the way I think for their own agenda, that led me to a very painful road of healing all that hurt. But now I am in a very, very good place where I am in a very loving relationship that I can proudly say that I've moved past all the trauma that I've experienced. I want to be able to share those experiences and the lessons I've learned with you so that you can also take what I've learned and apply it into your life and use this to empower yourself, to free yourself from jealousy, and to be able to take your life back when they couldn't give you the life that you deserved. You can be the one to give yourself the life you deserve, and you can be the one to give yourself the relationship you deserve. And that's what I want for you. So while we want to form this beautiful, loving relationship with yourself and with others, I want to introduce to you what jealousy is and what jealousy looks like. And for the people who don't understand jealousy, and for the people who blame you for being crazy and for being a jealous person and for being out of your mind with all these suspicions and assumptions and stalking and all those toxic relationships, toxic traits, which I'll get into, I want you to point them to this specific part of the video. I'm going to explain to you what jealousy is and why it's normal and how you guys should back off from the negativity of what jealous people go through. So, jealousy is extremely normal. It has been there and it is part of human nature since the beginning of time. Humans are wired to sense negativity. Humans are wired to look at things that could be potential threats. When back in the day, when you had a tribe or you had a family or you had a community that you had to defend or keep safe, if someone was suspected of stealing your resources, if someone was suspected of even lying to you or being a danger to the community, your guard would be up. Your defense mechanisms would kick in and basically help you survive from whatever the tribulation was. And jealousy is part of that. Jealousy is a defense mechanism meant to help you survive. Especially when you have been hurt, you've been betrayed, you've been lied to, of course your defense mechanisms are going to kick in because you're just trying to protect yourself. Jealousy happens when someone you loved, someone you trusted, someone you really cared for, betrayed you, went behind your back, manipulated you, and made you feel like you can't trust yourself or anyone else. It is a damaging feeling. It rewires your brain to be defensive because that kind of hurt is extremely painful and in some scenarios can really, really become a traumatic experience. So for myself, an example, anytime I would bring something up just to have a legitimate conversation, just to have a communication of openness and truthfulness and just, pave the way for a loving relationship by talking about my honest feelings, I would constantly be berated. I'd be insulted. I might be physically hurt because of something that I just brought up that I wanted to be on the same page for, something that I just wanted security about. I wanted to look at my partner, I wanted to look at my family member and say, hey, can I ask you why this is? Can I ask you why you said that? Can I ask you why you did this when you said you were going to do this? And the result that came out of that was a very damaging and hurtful experience to the point where your brain, my brain in this case, has absorbed it as a very painful, very hurtful experience that you don't want to experience again. So your defense mechanisms kick in. Your brain has been rewired to think, this is dangerous, you'll be unsafe, this is extremely harmful to you. So do whatever you can to survive. Do whatever you can to protect yourself from feeling this way again. And in some ways, we all react to it differently. And some of us react to it extremely. Some of us react to it so anxiously. And just to dive into a little side tangent, there are different ways we react to when we're in danger. There's our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. So in some cases, a lot of us, we will start fights. We will be harmful. We will inflict pain back in the name of trying to protect ourselves. And some of us, we will block you out. Some of us will cut you off cold. Some of us will have no explanation as to why we will never talk to you again. And some of us will just never be able to open up to anybody again. And that's what trauma out of jealousy can cause. That's what drama out of jealousy can do. So with the understanding of it being a threatening feeling, and with the understanding that it can be super painful to go through a betraying experience, you need to understand that when people react a certain way due to jealousy, it's because they're protecting themselves. They were so hurt to the point that they couldn't trust a person that they loved. They couldn't trust the one person that was supposed to make them feel safe. And now they question everything about relationships moving forward. They question what love is supposed to look like. And they question how they can even trust themselves, putting themselves out in relationships and putting themselves out into the opportunity of being hurt again. So, with that being said, I want you to understand that jealousy is normal because it's just you protecting yourself. You're just looking out for yourself. And sometimes you're not able to recognize the harmful behaviors that can come out of that. And that's why we tend to lash out. That's why we tend to seem crazy. That's why a lot of people don't understand when we're so sporadic, when we're so unhinged, when we are so dangerous in the actions that we portray, because it's just us responding to a threatening experience. So there are triggers that come up for us depending on the situation that we don't really understand and recognize, but we are just defending ourselves. We are just protecting ourselves. So now that we understand that jealousy is a trauma response and it can take the form of something that can be extremely dangerous, something that can be extremely painful, I'm here to hopefully have you recognize a few of the behaviors. If you're confused about why you seem to be lashing out, why you can't understand why this sensation takes over your body, just to give you an example and just sharing from my experience, I used to get so triggered when a woman would be in the space shared with me and my partner that I was very threatened by. Just for them sharing their space, my body would go into an almost like hyperly shaky kind of state. I wouldn't be able to think straight. I feel like I would be heaving heavily. I couldn't breathe properly. I couldn't think straight. I feel like I'd get dizzy and I'd go straight into a panic attack. And it would either lead me into basically starting a fight because it feels like I had to defend myself. It feels like I have to fight somebody off. It felt like I was in a nightmare trying to run away. Or sometimes I would just be in extreme pain of being so extremely hurt, feeling like the world is ending, going into a deep depression over the fact that there was just a woman in the room and my partner was in the same space. Nothing said, nothing done, no looks exchanged. Just the mere fact that my partner was existing in a room with someone else that I felt threatened by was enough to send me into a panic attack. So I want you to recognize some of these behaviors that can lead to these heavy triggers, that can lead to a very toxic road, and that can lead to a ripple effect of dangerous like behavior. And when I use the words dangerous, when I use the word extremely painful, I just want the gravity of how people feel to be understood, because in the mind of someone who is going through extreme jealousy, in the mind of somebody who has experienced really painful trauma from being betrayed, it is like we are about to die. Like, I'm not trying to sound dramatic. I'm just trying to really weigh the perspective of the situation. It feels like we are going to die because it is such a painful experience. It literally feels like your breathing is cut off and your mind isn't on straight, and the whole world fades and you're just trying to survive. So the behaviors that I want you to recognize that are coming up for you that you might experience is, firstly, jealous bias. Jealous bias is when you are scanning a situation or experiencing something and looking at it to find something wrong. You are living your day-to-day in defense mode. You are trying to find any threats or any signs of a threat that could feed into your thoughts of, this person is going to betray me. This person is going to hurt me. This person is lying to me. So I'm going to have to find evidence because I feel like that's happening. And that's what jealous bias is. It is completely unfair. To be very frank, it's very unfair for your partner when you feel this way. But I also understand because, again, going back to my first point, it's a defense mechanism. Jealous bias exists because you are scoping out for threats in your environment before it can get to you, before it can hurt you. So you want to make sure that you don't get hurt. You're trying to protect yourself and you're trying to prevent yourself from experiencing something super painful again. So you scan the room, you scan their phone, you scan their body behavior. This is where the next point comes in: hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is the sense, the reaction of just being able to pick up on the smallest things and feel like it's going to be a threat. So an example I brought up before was that when my partner's tone would be a half tone lower or just suddenly so quick, just even that little shift makes me think, oh, what is he hiding? What is he going to do? What are we, like, what's going through his mind right now? Is he thinking about someone that he just saw? Is he telling me the truth? Hypervigilance is essentially this elevated state of always thinking something is going to be wrong and noticing every single bit that might be threatening to you. So the combination of the two, of jealous bias and hypervigilance, always thinking that something's going to hurt you and always trying to look to see if there is a threat in your horizon, is a very deadly combination. But this is a combination that commonly exists in so many people who feel jealousy. This is the killer combo that overtakes your life and overtakes your well-being and basically suffocates your way of living. Because you go into your day-to-day thinking, what's going to happen next? I was safe yesterday, but I'm not safe today. This is a new day. I can't sleep on knowing that I haven't checked everything. I can't feel safe knowing that I've done my checks. I can't feel safe knowing that I haven't asked him this, and this. And it can get really toxic. It can get really toxic because everything you're trying to look for is all in your head. That's what a jealous bias is. You're looking for something that isn't there. You're looking for something to feed your fears. You're looking for something to reiterate why you should be looking out for yourself, why you should be protecting yourself, because you are still in this really wounded space. You are still in this really hurt headspace. So once you understand that, it is very important to recognize when you start realizing these patterns. It is the biggest step and one of the greatest steps to realizing what you need to do to be able to heal past this. Because if you don't realize these behaviors, if you don't realize these toxic traits, it takes over your life. You are a prisoner in your own mind because you cannot feel safe. You cannot trust your partner. You're creating a volatile environment for your relationship when you're always feeling like you're in danger, when you're always feeling like you're going to get hurt. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. But at the same time, you have to come from a place of love when you see these behaviors, because it is just you protecting yourself. It does not help when you are going to beat yourself up for the fact that you can't grow out of these behaviors. It doesn't help when you have to beat yourself up as to saying like, I'm just going to be crazy for the rest of my life. This feeling is just who I am. This feeling is taking me over and I can't do anything about it. But that isn't true. The negative thoughts are not going to help in this situation. And one of the biggest steps you can do when you recognize these patterns, other than recognizing these behaviors, is to be kind about it. Just say, I was really, really hurt, and this is what's coming up for me. And that is a huge step on moving forward from recognizing the behaviors to healing and ultimately getting rid of these feelings. Another jealous behavior that I want to bring up is the different attachment theories. Everyone has a different form of attachment. Without going too deep into this topic, because it can be its own topic, the attachment theories that are really important and prevalent in jealous relationships or jealous feelings is avoidant attachment and anxious attachment. They are the complete opposite of each other. They can be equally extreme in their own right. So anxious attachment is when you feel like you cannot be separated from them, when you feel like you have to possess your partner, when you feel like you have to dictate where they go, who they see, who they talk to, because you cannot stand the fact that they are going to hurt you. You cannot stand the fact that they are going to do something that you don't want to do, which again, all lives in your head because you feel like you are threatened, because you are trying to protect yourself, that you have formed this anxious attachment to your partner where they cannot have their own life. You have to control their life. And that's extremely unhealthy because it's not only suffocating to you, it's suffocating for your partner. And then the second attachment theory is the avoidant attachment. And this is where I lived in a lot of the time. Avoidant attachment is essentially thinking that you're going to get hurt, assessing the threats, and just pushing off any kind of love, any kind of trust, any kind of olive branch anyone is extending out to you. You don't trust it. You don't want anything to do with it. You don't care about anybody's feelings, and you don't care what they feel towards you. Essentially, you have shut yourself off from any version of love, any kind of kindness, or any kind of sympathy towards you because you cannot bring yourself to trust anybody again. You are protecting yourself by being far away and pushing people away from the thought of even hurting you. And that is toxic in itself because it's unfulfilling, it's lonely, it's depressing, and you are going to never know what it's like to trust and heal somebody. And it's important to have a community. It's important to have people to lean on. But when you're all by yourself, you become your worst enemy, and everyone around you is an enemy, which is an exhausting feeling and which is a draining feeling because there's no fulfillment in that. There's no community in that. There's no love. And that is also a trait that you would need to recognize and you would need to heal from. Now I'm going to dive into what you can do to be able to heal the jealousy, what techniques you can use, what behaviors and patterns you can practice so that you can ultimately heal and form a loving relationship with your partner. With that being said, I just want to emphasize that these patterns and these techniques need to be practiced over time. This is not a quick fix pill. This is not a band-aid over a giant wound situation. This is something that needs to be practiced. You need to put in the time and effort to continue these habits to be able to heal yourself from those jealous feelings. Now, the reason why I say that these need to be practiced and these need to be taken seriously is because it is very important for you to rewire those behaviors in your brain. When you went through a traumatic experience, when you were betrayed, when you were extremely hurt, your brain made a connection that will stay there. And the more you massage and the more you exercise that nerve in your brain that you can't trust people, people are going to hurt you, you need to protect yourself, it strengthens to the point where that is how you're going to react predominantly. But the good news is that you can weaken that connection and you can form a new connection of understanding what real love looks like, understanding what safe love looks like, teaching yourself how to love yourself, and teaching yourself how to start trusting people and how to heal that wound. You then start to strengthen that connection, and you then rewire the connection in your brain to take over, and you, believe it or not, will no longer feel jealous. You will no longer feel like you're suffocating. You will no longer feel like it's taking over your life. And you want to say, oh, that's not true. There's no way I can ever heal myself or ever feel normal again. But I'm here to tell you that happened to me. I'm here to tell you that it is frickin' possible. And the fact that I can make this episode right now and talk about this freely and know with full confidence that I do not feel these feelings anymore is astounding to me, because I know and I remember how painful those feelings were when I had them. I remember how suffocating. I remember how annoying and how pissed off I would be, and how I felt like there was so much wrong with me because I just couldn't get rid of these jealous feelings. I was forever, perpetually in a state of being a prisoner to these feelings. But I can proudly say that I feel so free. I can proudly say that I have taught myself so much on how to stop feeling that way, on how to live my life, and how to form a loving relationship. I am in the best relationship I've ever been in. Feel so loved. I feel so safe. I feel so trusted. I feel respected. And I want that for you too. It can happen. It's real. You just have to work on it. So this is why I want to bring this up to you, and how I want to show you and tell you that it's possible. So anyways, diving in to what you can do to be able to heal those toxic feelings and how to heal those jealous feelings. So one of the most important things that you need to start doing to be able to rewire that feeling, that brain connection, is to start speaking kindly to yourself and treat yourself with love. That's one of the most important steps on how to heal jealousy. And the reason why that is because if you beat yourself up, you are teaching yourself how to bring yourself down, and you are telling yourself that there's no hope. But if you are speaking to yourself kindly, it lets you understand where your jealousy is coming from. It lets you feel like you're not crazy. It takes you away from those jealous feelings because you're coming at it out of a place of understanding. You're coming at it in a positive light and saying, these feelings were trying to protect me. These feelings were only coming up because I was feeling hurt. I didn't deserve the hurt that I went through. I didn't deserve the things that happened to me. And I'm doing my best right now to heal myself, and I am proud of myself for doing that. So start to shift your mindset and the way you talk to yourself into a more loving and kind mindset, because it really goes a long way into helping you apply all these other techniques that are going to help you heal your jealousy once and for all. So, with that being said, another really strong technique, which is related to the other point, is try to remember the exact moment in time of yourself that was extremely hurt by betrayal. Try to remember the very first memory of being hurt and remember what you look like, how old you were, what you wore, maybe give yourself a name, and just remember that person. Remember that person so that you can speak to them. It is important to have conversations with that version of yourself because it is a great way to healing. You need to look at that younger self of you, assuming it was, a past experience, and just talk to them and walk them through what's going on in their mind, what these feelings are, what's coming up for them, why they're feeling this way. The reason why it's so important to remember your past self and speak to your past self is because you are separating yourself from those extremely anxiety-inducing feelings, those huge feelings of jealousy. They now take a form in who you are when you were hurt. It's no longer you as a person right now. It is you when you were hurt. You're being constantly brought back to that person and being brought back to who they were when you were hurt, when you felt that pain. But it is so powerful when you can separate that and look at that person and just have a conversation with them. An example of having a conversation with them that really, really helped for me was, I remember specifically there was one night I was laying in bed. I was crying myself to sleep again, saying, why am I always feeling this way? Why can't I seem to have a control over my jealous feelings? Why is it taking over my life? Why is it destroying my relationship? Why is it destroying me? There's so much wrong with me. And I found it in myself to pretend that that person who was really hurt was next to me. And I just had a conversation with them. I looked at them and said, what's going on right now? What's going through your mind? Why are you feeling so hurt right now? And that person, myself, that version of me, would explain, it's because of this, it's because of that, and because of this. And instead of looking at it in a way of judging them or criticizing them or telling them what to do, just speak to them with an open mind. Say, I'm sorry to hear that. Can you tell me more? Can you explain why this is coming up for you? Can you explain to me what it might remind you of? Can you tell me why this hurts so much? And just continue to talk to that version of you. It's massaging the pain. It's just healing that past self of you because you can pinpoint where the hurt is and you can separate that version of you from yourself. And it's so important to have that moment and that time with yourself to be able to have that conversation so that you can have those healing conversations with yourself. So, with that being said, another technique that you can do to be able to rid yourself of these jealous thoughts is to challenge the thoughts. This is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. So an example of that is future predicting. Challenge the thought that you have and say, I have a feeling my partner is going out and drinking and getting drunk and talking to some girls, or I think my partner is going out and making some really bad decisions. What you can do to challenge the thought is say, can I actually predict the future? Am I looking into a crystal ball and seeing that happen right now, exactly in this moment? Am I the type of person that can actually predict what's going on? And the answer is no. The answer is no 100% of the time because you can't actually know what's going on. And if you challenge the thought and continue to ask yourself these questions, it calms you down. It brings you back down to earth. It grounds you into thinking that you are just your worst enemy at the end of the day. You're the one coming up with these wild, conclusions, coming up with these reasons in your head. But continue to challenge the thoughts and continue to remind yourself to ask questions and challenge when you have those negative thoughts, when you have those jealous feelings. Now, lastly, and this is really important as well, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to admit, is that you need to surround yourself with better influences and better peers. So the reason why I say that is because a lot of us get trapped in the kind of community that condones crazy, jealous girlfriend behavior. A lot of us gets trapped in the kind of people that share toxic traits. If you're on your road to healing and if you're on your road to a better lifestyle, a lot of these people want to keep you in the same place because sometimes they just don't want to see you heal. They don't want to reflect on the fact that you're going to be moving past a dark place that they are still in. They want to share this misery and this hurt with somebody that can relate. So it is important for you to surround yourself with good influences and surround yourself with peers that have an open mind in your healing journey and cut off these bad habits that you notice that you do and want to work on these with you. Because if you surround yourself with the same toxic people, if you surround yourself with people that continue to do toxic behaviors and continue to do and have toxic relationships, you're not going to grow from it because it is not a thriving environment. You can't grow when there's a lot of weeds in the area because they'll just continue to kill you slowly too. So you need to be able to give yourself the best fighting chance in healing by surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with people who want to see you thrive, who want to see you heal, who at least understand that this is something you need to do for yourself. So that is really important in your healing journey, because if you are alone in this and they continue to drag you down, you are not going to get far. You are not going to be able to strengthen that connectivity in your brain to be able to reteach yourself and heal those hurtful parts of yourself. So, with that being said, I hope you all take a lot from this episode, because I really, again, dove in to the science of jealousy, the behaviors of jealousy, and techniques on how you can heal jealousy. And I hope this really gave you a lot of value. I hope this spoke to you. I hope this healed you in some sort of way. And I hope you take away from this knowing that you have the power to be able to heal yourself and to be able to free yourself from those jealous feelings. I believe in you. You've got this. Continue to keep fighting for yourself, because you deserve a good relationship. You deserve to find love. You deserve to love yourself, and you deserve to feel safe. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I can't wait to catch you in the next episode, and I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you.